What's going on, people? I don't want to make this video too long, but I just want to showcase the images of Saint Nicholas being a so-called black man. And yes, Saint Nicholas was actually a real person. It's just that he's been deified and mystified over time. Now, as you can see from the image that I have in the background, you can see Saint Nicholas is being presented as a so-called black man, and I have many more images to showcase. Now, before we get to those images, these are the ones that you're going to see in your mainstream. These are the whitewash versions. Now, they're going to tell you, as I've said many times in past videos, the reason why images like these are dark or presented to be dark complected, they're going to say that it got dark over time due to old age. It got dark because it was left in the monastery too long. It got dark because it was burnt by incense smoke, or it got dark over the passage of time. These are narratives that they concoct to write off why these images are featuring so-called black people, as I've said many times on my channel. But like I said, these are the ones you're going to see in your mainstream, and all of the whitewash versions are fake. This is known as artistic license or iconoclasm. Iconoclasm. So what is iconoclasm? Basically, iconoclasm is the social belief in the importance of the destruction of icons and other images or monuments, most frequently for religious or political reasons, or to paint themselves as historical figures and eradicate so-called black people from history and then relegate them to being only slaves and servants. And like I said, they do this with ancient civilizations, monuments, statues, relics, sculptures, frescoes, what have you, and they paint them like themselves. And if they don't destroy the original, they hide them in their basements, the Ivy League schools, the Vatican, the Smithsonian Museum, in the basements, the factories, what have you. But let me go back to the image. Like I said, I'm going to showcase more of these original images. But before we get to that, like I said, it may be hard for you brothers and sisters to grasp when I say that certain historical figures, civilizations, ancient societies were actually, or historical figures were actually so-called black, is because this is what you have been fed in the mainstream, and like I said, it expands over the course of history in general. But like I said, Saint Nicholas was actually a real person who lived, and basically this is where you got a lot of the parallels with Santa Claus, even though we know that Christmas is sinister behind closed doors, and most of us should already know Christmas is pagan. But for example, Saint Nicholas had wealthy parents, and when they passed away, they left him an inheritance. Now, what Saint Nicholas would do, he would go into town at the night time, and what he will do, he would throw money into the windows of poor people. So this is where you get a lot of the gift giving. He's also venerated in Greek Orthodoxy. He was a Greek Orthodox saint. He was also a bishop in what we know as modern day Turkey. What else? Oh, and he may or may have not been at the Council of Nicaea. Now, there are conflicting reports saying that he wasn't actually there and that he was. But since I touched on the Council of Nicaea, for all the new viewers out there, for all the new brothers and sisters, that was the time period that so-called black people were actually in rulership. Basically, going into that from the 200 AD period, so-called black people gained dominion. You know, going all throughout the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, the High Middle Ages, what have you. The Byzantine Empire, Constantine the Great, historical figures like Charlemagne the Great, King of the Franks, Charles V, Tudors, the Babenbergs, the Lancasters, Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn. These are just people I'm thinking at the top of my head. Basically, brothers, 1,000+ years, so-called black people were in rulership. Now, I know this may sound far-fetched to all of the new viewers, okay? Because you have been fed lies and narrative all of your life. So when truth comes out, it will sound like a lie. It will sound crazy. It will sound like folklore. Now, you may say to yourself, well, KMZ, where is your proof? You said that black people ruled for that long. It was actually black people that were in rulership. You mentioned people like Charlemagne the Great, Charles V, Anne Boleyn, Constantine, Byzantium, what have you, were all ruled over by so-called black people. Where's your proof? Now, I won't be able to go through all of that history in a 5-minute intro, okay? But everything that I stated, I have proven in past videos. For those of you brothers, for those of you sisters who are new, you're just gonna have to take the time to go through my videos to get caught up, because there's a lot of history to go through and a lot of context. But just for example, as you can see, I have all these videos here showcasing coats of arms with so-called black people, like ruling class families, royal black families during the Middle Ages. I have videos like the meaning of words, what have you. For example, where is it? This one here, meaning of words. For example, words like brunette, swarthy, tawny, dusky, copper-colored, sanguine. These were all in references to the complexion of black people. Now, why is that important? Because when you read a lot of these historical figures, you're going to find out they were described as such. Now, if you do not understand how these were in reference to the complexion of black people, it's going to go right over your head. So there's a lot of foundational knowledge that you need to have to even grasp the things that I just stated. But like I said, you're just going to have to take the time to go through my videos. But like I said, I mentioned that Constantine the Great was a so-called black man. Where's the video? So this here, yeah. So there's a video here, title that says, why do these European icons depict black people? And it's right here. Now in this video, I showcase the images of Constantine the Great being a so-called black man, as well as a coin showcasing that. But like I said, just take the time to go through my videos and do your own research. Because some of you guys probably have questions in the may leave questions in the comment section that I've already answered in past videos. But anyway, this is a Saint Nicholas video, and I want to showcase the images of Saint Nicholas. Okay, so now we're going to go through various icons / images of Saint Nicholas being black, so-called. So here's an icon of Saint Nicholas. As you can see, dark complected. So here's another image / icon of Saint Nick. This is what I showed at the start of the video. And one more time, brothers and sisters, they're going to say that images like these get dark over time due to old age. It got dark over time because it was left in the monastery long. It got dark over time because the incense smoke in the monastery burned it. Or it got dark over time during the passage of time. All of these are lies that they concoct to write off why these icons are showcasing so-called black people. And as you can see, brothers, the scriptures, the Bible that Saint Nicholas is holding up, the pages in that Bible are white. So I have to ask, why didn't the pages get dark over time like his complexion? And why is this darkening effect always affecting the parts specifically where it shows their skin complexion? Things that make you go, But as you can see, brothers, Saint Nicholas, the wonder worker, so-called black man. And as you can see to the top left and the top right, which I'm assuming the left is Christ and the right is Mary, also dark complected. So here's another icon of Saint Nicholas. One more time, I have to say, as you can see, brothers, the Bible that he's holding, the pages are white, yet all of the complexions, all the figures here are dark complected. So please don't fall for the lies and narrative that images like these get dark over time, or it got dark due to oxidation. They are painted dark because these figures were quote unquote black people. So here's another icon of Saint Nick. As you can see, all the figures, all dark complected. Another icon of Saint Nicholas, the wonder worker. Another image of Saint Nick. This one's a bit withered, but clearly you can see all the figures are so-called black. As I said, a lot of these images with Saint Nick, I'm assuming the two figures to his left and right are Christ and Mary. Another icon of Saint Nicholas. And here's another. Another icon of Saint Nick. Here's another. One more. Nicholas the Wonder Worker. This specific icon here is in mint condition. Now you see what they look like when they haven't been tampered with or whitened over time. Here's another. Another icon showcasing Saint Nick. Here's one more. Saint Nicholas the Miracle Worker. As you can see, all the figures dark complected. Another icon. The funny thing is, a lot of these images are not actually difficult to find. It's just that you have to be privy to the information that certain historical time periods and certain historical figures were even so-called black in the first place. You can probably just type in Black Santa and you can find images of Saint Nicholas just pop up. Icon of Nicholas the Wonder Worker. Here's another. Another icon of Saint Nick. Here's one more. And the last one here. Okay, so most of you should know by now that Christmas is a pagan holiday and has absolutely nothing to do with the scriptures. Now, with that being said, I'm going to play a small segment from a video Chronicles of Judah 144 did on Christmas. Now, this video is titled, Why Does Kyrie Irving Hate Christmas? And he goes in on the left-hand side aspects of Christmas and what Christmas is actually about. Now, before I play this video, volume warning. When I start to play this video, it may be a bit loud, so I'm just letting you guys know. Oh, and fair use. This video is for education and teaching purposes. Fair use.
All right, man. Peace. So the great Boston Celtics point guard Kyrie Irving recently made the news by disavowing himself from any commemoration or celebration of Christmas. Of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Kyrie Irving certainly does not think it's time to panic. He did offer this hot take on Christmas Day. Only Kyrie could have a hot take about Christmas. Take a listen.
No, he just had an informed take on Christmas. But you're an idiot, so you wouldn't know that.
I mean, hoopla on Christmas doesn't really, I don't really get into that. I don't really necessarily think of Christmas as a holiday, so, I'm just happy that I get to be with my family.
And he's correct. Christmas is not a holiday, as most of you brothers know by now, and some of the people who are on my channel who may celebrate Christmas, you can do what you like. That's your prerogative. But the narrative that Christmas is in celebration of Christ's birth is erroneous, as anyone who does even basic research knows. Kyrie Irving is smart enough to understand that, no, it's not a holiday. The term holiday means a holy day, a day to be venerated. Now, if you happen to be someone who worships the sun, then yes, Christmas is a holy day for you. But in general, no, it is not a holiday for anyone who believes in the scriptures or who believes in Christ. Because December 25th is not the birth date of Christ. You know, what Christ is a name that he's commonly known by. Those of us who read the scriptures know that his name is not Jesus Christ. There is no J in the Hebrew. His name is Yahweh Shai. All right? But no, there's nothing wrong with what Kyrie said. It's not a hot take. And more and more people are waking up to the fact that most of these holidays are based in paganism. Okay? Christmas was celebrated all the way into antiquity. In the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system, it was recognized as the symbolic birth or rebirth per se of Osiris. And as he was known in Rome as Saturn. As I state on this channel incessantly, the Italian peninsula was known in antiquity as Saturnia. Nimrod and his father Cush did not just rule in ancient Kemet. They ruled in Babylon. They ruled in the Italian peninsula as well. So that's why he's known under different names in various regions. Okay. Now, I don't agree with all of Kyrie's ideologies, but this one, he's certainly on point. I don't know what Kyrie's belief system is. From what I've read, he associates with some of the New Age so-called Christian churches out there in LA. I believe he's associated with the pastor who is the pastor for Justin Bieber. I don't know how true that is. I know that his father is a believer in Buddhism. So Kyrie just may be a person who's out there searching. Who knows? But either way, he understands that Christmas is not a holiday. Now, just getting back to some of the origins of so-called Christmas, as already has been stated, December 25th was recognized as the birth of Osiris, aka Bacchus, aka Tammuz. Why is that? Because the winter solstice represented the disappearance of the sun and the reappearance of the sun. The ancient cultures worshiped the sun. The ancient cultures practiced what was known as a stellar religion, S-T-E-L-L-A-R, meaning they utilized the star formations and many of the other celestial bodies as embodiments of the notable figures of antiquity, that being Cush, Nimrod, Semiramis, Noah, Adam, Eve, etc. Okay, so the sun disappears on December 21st, what we call the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. And then it starts to reappear on December 24th. People have to understand that Christmas is not just a holiday on the 25th. It starts on December 24th. And in the ancient time, that was known as Mother's Night. Right? That's why we call it Christmas Eve. Okay? So the celebration starts on December 24th and goes into December 25th, where it was known in ancient Rome as the Saturnalia, in which the practices were drunkenness and revelry, wanton sex, of course, the exchange of gifts. In ancient Rome, the slaves would trade places with the master for a day. And they would put on, if I remember correctly, I think it was a purple robe, the color purple symbolizing rulership. Also, please remember that Nimrod, in his manifestation as Baal or Molech or even Saturn, was the god of death. So oftentimes on December 25th, they would have numerous gladiatorial games where on those days they would be forced to fight to the death as a sacrifice to Nimrod. In history, when you see things like the Aztecs sacrificing people to the sun god, that was in commemoration of Nimrod. As he was known as in his incarnation as the god of death, Osiris, Shiva, Saturn. It's all talking about the same person. I go over this over and over and over again. But that's what the Christmas festival is about. Like the 12 days of Christmas, those were 12 days in ancient Kemet where they venerated Osiris. So now they just transferred it over to the quote-unquote 12 days of Christmas. Okay? So there's nothing wrong with what Kyrie said here. He certainly was on point.
He also referred to that game on the...
So that was Chronicles of Judah going in on the left-hand side of what Christmas is actually about. Now, if you haven't, I highly suggest you brothers, the few sisters that are listening, to go watch this full video. Now, one more time, the video is titled, "Why Does Kyrie Irving hate Christmas, and the channel is Chronicles of Judah 144. Okay, so now adding on to what Chronicles of Judah stated. Now the Bible itself actually talks about the Christmas tree and how it's a vain practice of the nations. So now we're in Jeremiah 10 and we're going to read down. So Jeremiah 10, hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. So peep this. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it, that being the tree, with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. There's nothing new under the sun. But most quote unquote religious people think that Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Christ. Christmas is all pagan. It has nothing to do with the scriptures at all. But let's read it in the English Standard Version. So learn not the way of the nations, nor be dismayed at the signs of heaven, because the nations are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vanity. A tree from the forest is cut down and worked with an axe by the hands of the craftsmen. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with the hammer and nails, so it cannot move. So of course, this is the Christmas tree. And as you can see, they deck it with silver and gold, that being the lights, the balls, the tinsels, what have you. Now usually on top of the Christmas tree is a star. Now let's see what they say the star is to the masses. So what does the star on the Christmas tree mean? The star on the Christmas tree represents the star of Bethlehem, which guided the three wise men to baby Jesus in the Bible. Divine guidance. The star represents God's guidance and the idea that God provides direction to those who seek Him. Fulfillment of prophecy. The star is a heavenly sign of a prophecy fulfilled long ago. The revelation of Christ. The star symbolizes the revelation of Christ to the Gentiles. All lies, brothers and sisters, all lies. As you know, Christmas is pagan. That star is actually a representation of Semiramis, also known as the Queen of Heaven, also known as the Mother Goddess, what have you. She goes by many different names, but this is the narrative they teach to the masses, and this is why people get duped by religion. Christmas, brothers, sisters, sound like a broken record right now, has nothing to do with the Bible. Zero. Religion in and of itself has nothing to do with the scriptures. They just mix pagan teachings with the scriptures to confuse the masses. Okay, so now just to end it off, now I'm going to quickly touch on the Feast of Dedication, or some of you may know it as Hanukkah. Now I don't really want to use this terminology, but I want to explain it in its simplest forms, or simplest form. This is basically our Christmas. Of course, not comparing the two. I just want to simplify for the new viewers. Basically, brothers, sisters, the Feast of Dedication, Hanukkah, is where our forefathers restored the temple back to the Most High when we defeated our enemies / the Idumeans / the Greeks. So I'm just going to read this brief. I'm just going to read First Maccabees 4:36 downward to provide context. Now, before I read, basically what you do on Christmas, you can do on this day, of course, minus the Christmas celebrations. For example, you can be joyful, you can feast, you can exchange gifts on this holiday. If you have a menorah, light your menorah, what have you. But let me just read this first. So the cleansing and the dedication of the temple. Then Judas and his brothers said, "See, our enemies are crushed. Let us go up to cleanse the sanctuary and dedicate it." So all the army assembled and went up to Mount Zion. There they saw the sanctuary desolate, the altar profaned, and the gates burned. In the courts they saw bushes sprung up as in a thicket, or as one of the mountains. They saw also chambers of the priest in ruins. Then they tore their clothes and mourned with a great lamentation. They sprinkled themselves with ashes and fell face down on the ground, and they blew the signal trumpets, and they cried out to heaven. Then Judas detailed men to fight against those in the citadel until he had cleansed the sanctuary. He chose blameless priests devoted to the law, and they cleansed the sanctuary and removed the defiled stones to an unclean place. They deliberated what to do about the altar of burnt offering, which had been profaned, and they thought it best to tear it down, so it would not be a lasting shame to them that the nations had defiled it. So they tore down the altar and the stones, and stored the stones in a convenient place on the temple hill until a prophet should come to tell them what to do with them. Then they saw unhewn stones as the Lord directs. And they took unhewn stones, as the Lord directs, built a new altar like the former one. They also rebuilt the sanctuary and the interior of the temple and consecrated the courts. They made new holy vessels and brought the lampstand, the altar of incense, and the table into the temple. Then they offered incense on the altar and lit the lamps on the lampstand, and these gave light in the temple. They placed the bread on the table and hung up curtains. Thus they finished all their work they had undertaken. So early in the morning on the 25th day, on the 9th month, which is the month of Chislev, and the Feast of Dedication / Hanukkah is always going to fall around November, December in the winter. So, which in the 9th month of Chislev, in the 148th year, they rose and offered sacrifice as the Lord directs, and the new altar of burnt offerings that they had built on the new altar. At the very season, and on the very day that the nations had profaned it, it was dedicated with songs and harps and lutes and cymbals. All the people fell on their faces and worshipped and blessed heaven, who had prospered them. So they celebrated the dedication of the altar for 8 days and joyfully offered burnt offerings. They offered a sacrifice of well-being and thanksgiving offering. Then they decorated the front of the temple with golden crowns and small shields. They restored the gates and the chambers for the priests and fitted them with doors. There was a very great joy among the people, and the disgrace brought by the nations was removed. So then Judas and his brothers and all the assembly of Israel determined that every year at that season that the days of dedication of the altar should be observed with joy and gladness for 8 days, beginning with the 25th day of the month of Chislev. Like I said, the dedication is always going to fall around November, December. But like I said, This is basically, brothers, our people restoring the temple. Like I said, you can be joyful, be glad. If you want to decorate, you can decorate. You know, light your menorah if you have one. Feast if you have children. Read them the book of the Maccabees. You should read the whole Maccabees to, of course, get context. But First Maccabees 4, you can just read them this paragraph, what have you. You know, put down that Christmas ham. Just going to finish off with this last paragraph because it also identifies who Esau is. So, at that time, they fortified Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers all around to keep the nations from coming and trampling them down as they had done before. Judas stationed a garrison there to guard it. He also fortified Beth-zur to guard it, so that the people might have a stronghold that faced Idumea. Who is Idumea? Is basically a Greek way of saying Esau. Who is Esau? Once again, this is Alexander of Macedon, or you may know him as Alexander the Great, Antiochus, Lysimachus, what have you. Okay, so now, brothers, sisters, I'm going to end it off and showcase that Christ himself walked in the temple during the Feast of Dedication. So now we're in John 10, skipping down. We're going to read from 22 to 24. So it reads, and it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of the Dedication, and it was winter. Like I said, it's always going to fall around November, December. And Yahushua, Christ, walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, how long dost thou make us doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. But as you can see from verses 22 to 23, we're going to read it again. And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter, and Yahushua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. So it just shows you that Christ also acknowledged this holiday. So one more time, brothers and sisters, just going over in its simplest form. All the Feast of Dedication, Hanukkah is that our enemies defiled the temple, we defeated them, we cleansed, consecrated the temple, and restored it back to the Most High. That's, of course, the story in its most simplest form. But I highly suggest you guys, if you haven't, please go read the book of the Maccabees. Or what you can do, you can just type in YouTube, Israelite Feast of Dedication, and you're going to have a plethora of brothers break it down. But like I said, what you do on Christmas, you can do on this day, minus the pagan elements. Like I said, feast, be joyful, be happy. You can exchange gifts. You can decorate your house if you want in observance of this holiday. Oh, one more thing. We don't observe Feast of Dedication, Hanukkah, like those people in the Holy Land of Israel, okay? We don't have an 8-candled menorah. The menorah is 7 candlesticks, not 8. Now, I'm just going to leave to those people because, you know, there's certain people you can't talk about because channels get deleted. I just want to make that distinction. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully that was an edifying lesson for you brothers and sisters. If you wish to financially support me for the videos that I make, you can support me on PayPal, YouTube memberships, or Patreon. With that being said, giving all praises to the Most High Yahweh in the name of Yahushai. Deuces.